Second webinar for DTC Live. Today we're going to be talking all about last minute Black Friday, Cyber Monday success. I think we're on like a real countdown now around getting ready for the holiday season and making sure that everything's prepped as much as it can be for all the customers and the increasing traffic that everyone's about to have. And so we're going to receive some insights from one of our partners, FAM. And we're going to kind of walk you through what you can do to kind of make the most of this season. So a little bit about DTC Live for those that don't know. We're all about inspiration, education, and connection. So we want to make sure that we're delivering the most value to all of the brands that are within the community. And we inspire people and we provide education through all of these different channels. Tomorrow we've got our DTC Live conference happening, which is super exciting in London. We provide the webinars, the newsletters, and we've got some exciting announcements for next year as well. We're a brand first community, so everything that we do is driving more and more value for the brands that are within that community. And we support the brands in tons of different ways. As I mentioned, we have our flagship events. So we've just recently done our conference in New York. We do London, Manchester, and some exciting new locations happening next year as well. We have exclusive invitations to webinars, dinners, partner events, online and offline. So no matter where you are, you can get involved. And of course, we have our weekly newsletter, which keeps you updated with all things D2C, e-commerce and retail. Some of the ways that we kind of help support the brands that are within our community, we offer different services such as website redesigns, replatforming from other platforms across to Shopify and Shopify Plus, CRO and on-site optimizations and A/B tests and meta ads as well. So I'd love to introduce FAM, one of our partners from the D2C Live community. And FAM allows high growth D2C brands to process payments with 0% fees forever, which is crazy. And that really helps drive customer retention with store credit rewards. And FAM can be enabled for Shopify stores as a new payment option in a one-click install. And brands only pay a fee if and when a customer returns to redeem their store credits. So I would love to introduce Urvesh. He is the CEO and co-founder of FAM. So I don't know if you want to give us a little introduction on yourself and a bit more on FAM.
Sure. Thanks so much, Rebecca. So my name is Urvesh Vasani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of FAM. Before starting FAM, I spent about 6 years building a performance marketing agency and grew that bootstrap to a team of 12 with operations in India and Singapore. And after which started FAM, recently raised a round of funding from Techstars, which is the world's most active pre-seed investor. And we've also launched our core platform this year as well and starting to grow within the D2C community and bring on more brands.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you guys here. When I first found out and heard about your software, it's something that I've not heard about before on the market. So it was super interesting to kind of have you on board and help the brands that are within our community. So we're going to be digging into last minute BFCM success now and some insights from you guys. And I know that you have said as well, like if you're not prepared and you're not starting Black Friday, you're going to be too late. So you need to kind of get moving with things fairly quickly now. But I don't suppose you want to give us a little bit of a run through on FAM in a bit more detail and kind of explain how things help the brands before we jump into some like questions and topics.
Sure, yeah, of course. So FAM is a new payments platform for e-commerce brands in the UK, which helps them retain more customers right from checkout. So a good way to think about this is what buy now, pay later services like Klarna and ClearPay do for conversions, FAM does for retention. And instead of paying the high payment fees on every single transaction, FAM processes payments completely for free forever. And then the savings from that can then be reinvested in the business to then drive retention and repeat purchase rates, which translates to a 46% higher LTV from customers that pay by FAM at checkout versus those that don't. And the way it works is actually very simple. FAM integrates with your checkout with plugins that we have for most major e-commerce platforms. And then every time a customer pays with FAM, we take on the cost of processing that payment. Now, it doesn't matter if the brand does £2 million a year or £200 million a year, they will never pay anything in payment fees. And then the savings from that are then passed on to customers in the form of store credits that the customer can then redeem when they come back and shop with that brand again. Now, what's very important to note here is that this is not a cashback. This is not a discount. These are branded store credits, which means the customer has to come back and shop with you and you alone in order to redeem the value of these credits. And the best part is we align completely on the brand's upside, meaning we only charge a fee if and when a customer comes back to redeem these credits. If no customers return, we continue to process payments completely for free forever. There's no setup fees, there's no monthly SaaS fees, and there are no contract lock-ins whatsoever. And this typically translates into a 43% faster time to repurchase and also helps brands retain twice as many new customers to come back and shop with you instead of going to a competitor. And this is especially more important now with the BFCM coming up, that brands are spending so much money to acquire these new customers that the single best way of combating these high ad costs is going to be retaining more of them. And this is something where FAM can play a big role.
Amazing. And I know you've just mentioned then around like ad costs increasing and it costing so much more now to acquire these customers. What are some of the strategies that brands can implement that will help enhance customer retention and sustain that growth as well? So rather than just kind of doing it as a one-time fix now in the lead up, like what can we do to kind of make sure that it's happening month after month?
Yeah, look, the high ad costs are going to put a huge pressure on brands, especially during the busy season. And it's not something that's new. You've probably seen this being in the industry yourself, and I saw this in the many years that I was running my performance marketing agency. And while there's a lot that can be done to the build up of this, optimize your ad campaign and your ad sets for targeting, conversion, targeting, creative copy, and also making sure that your landing pages in your store is maximally optimized for conversions. But still, as I mentioned, the single best way of combating these high ad costs is going to be retaining more of these customers. And it might be surprising, but there's so many brands that fail to look at some of the more basic strategies that they can implement to retain these customers that they've spent so much money in acquiring. Something as simple as making sure that you have a good CDP setup, which is then able to consolidate all of this data that is coming from all of these different channels to then standardize that data and actually make it usable, so that it can then be plugged into, let's say, your Klaviyo automations. Right now, I'm a huge fan of going very granular, very hyper-targeted with the segmentation on that as well, so that we make sure that the right messaging is going to the right customer at the right time. And of course, as shoppers, we're shopping at BFCM because we want a good deal, right? So having a rewards element that, passing on rewards to customers that come in during BFCM can be a great way for you to re-engage these customers and create this feeling in customers where they have left something behind that they can then come back and redeem these rewards under a different context outside of BFCM on that returning purchase. I think that can be incredibly powerful.
And how have you found that the best way of brands displaying this information to their customers so that they're aware of it? Like they're so used to seeing like buy now, pay later as an option on like PDPs and through the checkout and things. So it's familiar to the customers, isn't it? What can brands do to make sure that it's apparent what they're doing and super clear for the customer and that they are going to be rewarded for this transaction?
Sure, yeah. So very similar to the buy now, pay later players, we also have on-site messaging that can be integrated by the brand. So on the PDP, announcement banners, a link in the footer, which then explains to the customer how FAM works and what it is. And we're also very clear about the fact, and we're very loud about that fact as well, that these rewards that are going to customers are actually being funded from not paying card companies, right? So the brand is essentially incentivizing the customer to pay using this free payment method. And it's all being funded from not paying Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. So this then translates into, the brand being able to squeeze a higher LTV out of these customers, more repeat purchases, without having to devalue their brand through heavy discounting strategies, because the customer is very well aware that the brand is rewarding me for helping them save on payment fees. So you're able to get that high LTV out of the customer without devaluing your brand by doing a heavy discounting strategy, which I'm sure can work in many contexts, but this is different.
No, and it's really interesting though, because I've spoke to like a lot of brands around like going through that really heavy discounting around BFCM, and they put everything into it, and it's like, oh, this is the one time where we can slash those prices. And we've spoke to brands before where they've gone so heavy with the discounts, they've sold out of all of their stock, and then it's caused other issues around the whole ecosystem in terms of like being able to fulfill all the orders on time, like being able to manage all the customer service. And then when they actually look back at what's been achieved, they may have hit like the highest revenue that they've ever done before, but it's impacted so many other areas of their D2C that it's not necessarily been the best thing, and profitability has been reduced so much because the prices are so cheap now.
No, 100%. Yeah. And, one thing that I say to brands that we work with is that your BFCM success should not be measured by metrics like we sold out. It should instead be measured by looking at the new customers that you've acquired. What percentage of that customer is falling within the category of being that high LTV customer versus what percentage is not. And that metric is going to be far more important in measuring BFCM success versus any other vanity metric that you're tracking on what sales that you did during that particular weekend. And plus, of course, you're absolutely right about the operational pressure that this can put on brands as well. And look, BFCM is a great strategy, and it is very effective in bringing on these new customers. But being prepared for that operational pressure that is going to come after the fact, and being prepared for re-engaging these customers that you've paid so much money, sometimes even losing money on every transaction to acquire, you might as well make sure that you're getting that LTV out of those customers by retaining and engaging with them deeper.
And I mean, let's just talk a little bit about like FAM's 0% zero fee payment method, and how that helps kind of cut the processing costs. So how exactly is it possible, and how are you leveraging those savings to like boost that retention for brands?
Yeah, good question. So the underlying technology behind FAM is known as open banking payments. Now, in simple terms, this is basically where I, as a customer, can pay for a purchase using my mobile banking app with a simple bank transfer instead of using my credit or debit card. What this does is this makes payment processing very cheap, although not free. And it also has it also makes it a lot safer for brands to accept these payments as well. And for customers, there's a lot of benefits too, where if there's a refund that's going through, customer does not have to wait for 5 days. The refunds are instant as well. And when we first started FAM, we decided to completely do away with the conversation of payment processing fees whatsoever. So even though it does cost us some money to process these payments, we do not pass that cost on to the brand at all. So we don't charge any payment fees, and instead convert those savings into a new lever that the brand can now pull to boost top line revenue. Right? With these store credit rewards, because they're so perfectly aligned with the brand's interests, because it only is a cost when that customer comes back. Brands are now a lot more confident in setting aside 10%, as high as 10% in these store credit rewards, which means the customer ends up saving a lot more compared to the typical Amex transaction, and the brand is now being able to close 2 sales for the cost of 1, and most of it is subsidized from not paying the big banks. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. And how does it kind of compare, I suppose, to like what percentage of the traffic that's kind of coming through the checkout do they tend to go when they see the reward? Is that a big indication that they want to kind of take that route as opposed to using Shopify payments or something in the checkout?
Sure, yeah, and that differs from vertical and brand to brand. And there's a lot of our brands that really want to push FAM as a payment method, where they will add our announcement banner, they will include us in their messaging going to customers, they will add the product page widgets as well, and that then helps drive adoption of this new payment method. And plus, you're incentivizing the customer to help you save on these payment fees without simply passing on that cost to a customer, right? Which is why I mentioned in the beginning that this is not a cashback and it's not a discount, meaning you're not simply passing on the money that was going to the card companies over to your customer. These are store credits, which means you only bear that cost if that customer comes back. So let's say out of 100 customers, you're seeing a repeat purchase rate of about 30%, you're processing 130 payments completely for free, while only bearing a cost on that 30 payments. So the rest of the 100 payments is in fact subsidizing the cost of the other 30 that the customer is actually redeeming the rewards on. So because of the high reward that customers are getting, there is a lot of customers that will go ahead and prefer to pay with this payment method versus using their Amex, where they can, on an average, earn a 1% cash back on.
Yeah. Those Amex points aren't as exciting as what they used to be, are they? And just a little bit around like cart abandonment. Obviously, that's a big. There's so many things that kind of play into shoppers abandoning that cart, and the amount of reduced transactions that happen when people go from product page to cart, from cart to checkout. There's so much that we can do around like conversion rate optimization and other different tactics, to kind of help reduce the amount that does get abandoned. But do you think that having like immediate checkout incentives like store credits can help close more sales and kind of bridge that gap a little bit more with the amount of people that are abandoning?
Yeah, so although the boost in conversions is not a metric that we actively track or focus on because we're more focused on driving LTV through better retention, we have seen that FAM customers tend to convert a lot better. They tend to spend a lot more. The average order value is also increasing because of the rewards element, and the rewards is so much higher than a typical credit card transaction that it does have an impact on this. And what's also very cool is that we've seen in some cases where where brands are experiencing a double punch effect, where a customer is making a transaction with FAM, taking away the credits, and then returning as soon as the very next day to make another purchase to redeem those credits. And that is where this can then, going back to saying the brand is now able to convert two purchases for the cost of one. That's where this becomes very effective.
Mm-hmm. And apart from like discounting, like how does the store credits tactic add lasting value for BFCM shoppers? That, I mean, there's that period as well that, after BFCM, like we've got December where things are still busy for the Christmas period, and then there's the Q5 section, and then January is also like a really big month for most niches. But is there any other like tactics around it that might encourage them to return? Like I know you mentioned a bit about like the Klaviyo flows and things that people can set up. Is there any more that you can kind of say on that as to what you found's worked best?
Sure, yeah. So FAM integrates with most major lifecycle marketing tools. So you can now enrich your Klaviyo customer profiles with FAM data that can then be plugged into your Klaviyo automations to then send these reminders out to customers before a credit is about to expire, because credits do carry an expiry with it as well. And that then becomes, very very effective in bringing customers back when you would really want to re-engage them. So this can be leading up to the holidays, this can be during Christmas time as well, or even in January when you want to re-engage the customers to come back and spend with you again. So, with your existing loyalty efforts that you're already doing with the automations on Klaviyo, FAM can then just be a complement to that existing strategy. And plus, we also maintain a very light touch cadence with the customers as well, where we remind customers of the credits that are expiring so that we can then also help in bringing those customers back as well. And the communication on that is also very deliberately very neutral, so that we are, not trying to muddy the brand's own voice. We speak as FAM because we're a new payment method. And we then communicate with the customer as well about their FAM credits expiring to then encourage them to return and shop with the brand again.
Got it. And you mentioned like there's a 43% faster time to repurchase, which is amazing. What elements of the platform really help drive customers to return more quickly after that first purchase? Is it all around like the email communication, or what do you think helps drive it so much?
Yeah, so my favorite thing about FAM credits is the fact that there is a customizable expiry date on it, right? And it is that expiry date which can then be customized by the brand's goals, their budgets, and the seasonality that they're going after, which then leads to this faster time to repurchase. And it's also very important note here is that retention can be measured in two different ways, right? You have customers that are returning to shop that same product, which is probably true in the cases of skincare or makeup, where they just run out of a product and they want to come in for a refill. And on the other hand, the customer might even return to shop another product out of your catalog to redeem these credits that are expiring. And that then just opens up a whole new relationship you now have with the customer, which previously did not exist. So let's, for example, take the example of a fragrance brand where it typically might take me 3 to 6 months for me to run out of my bottle of fragrance before I can come back and get a refill. However, if my credits are expiring in 3 months, I would want to come back and maybe try the brand's bath products or try the brand's skincare products. And that is something that I would not have tried earlier, because I would just come back at my usual time every 6 months to refill my fragrance bottle. Right. So that's a whole new thing. So it's not just at a SKU level, it is also now happening at a catalog level as well, which is very cool.
Yeah. And talking around like the customization side of things, like how customizable are the store credits, and can brands really like tailor those rewards and options to kind of align with specific retention goals that they've got as a brand?
Absolutely, yeah. So while the core fundamental of FAM is pretty simple and straightforward, where it's the free payments and then you're reinvesting that to drive retention, we are also and a mid-sized brand can choose to use it as is, but we're also built for enterprise from day one. Meaning we also have SKU level and cohort level tooling that brands can then use to really supercharge their retention using FAM store credits. So what I mean by that is that the customization that we have available is beyond just the expiry date and the amount of credits that you're offering, but you can also configure the credits to you can also configure the credits to have a different amount of credits going to customers for specific SKUs versus different amount of credits going to customers for a different category of products. And that can also then be done at a cohort level as well, where you can define cohorts within FAM to then say, look, customers that are part of our loyalty program get 5% extra credits from FAM. And that way you are incentivizing customers to join your loyalty program and using FAM as the tool to supercharge that. So there's a lot of customization that's available with this very simple idea of store credits.
Yeah. And around like loyalty, and I know that we've kind of spoke about this, previously, like how do brands like separate or combine store credits with loyalty? And if they're already using like a loyalty program, how do they make sure that this like integrates well within that?
Sure, yeah. So what FAM does is that FAM is happening right at the checkout level, right? FAM is a new payment method. It does not interfere with the brand's existing loyalty program. It does not replace the brand's existing loyalty program. It in fact can complement the brand's existing efforts in many ways, like I just mentioned, where loyalty program members can earn extra credits if they choose to pay by FAM. And what's also happening here is that because it's all happening at a checkout level, the communication is also very well separated, right? Because customers now know that this is a whole new payment method, very similar to a Klarna, except in this case, we're earning store credits as a reward. Plus, what we also emphasize here is that these credits are essentially being funded from not paying card fees. So this is not an added expense that brands have over and above of their existing loyalty program. This is in fact a way to supercharge your existing retention efforts. And I think by far the most important way to look at how FAM exists with an existing loyalty program is the fact that FAM is able to reach customers that the loyalty program won't. Right. So that percentage of customers that did not end up signing up to your loyalty program can still have an opportunity to, at the payment step, choose this payment method, and you're still able to get that LTV out of the customer, get those repeat rates out of the customer that you failed to engage with your loyalty program.
Yeah, because it's so true. Like, not everybody does want to join a loyalty program, or they're not that invested into the brand where they feel like they need to kind of get in there. And I think there's so many different ways that you can kind of work on retention with your merchant, with the customers, isn't there? Like, and there's different tactics that you can use within loyalty. But again, it's not for everyone. Everybody wants to kind of go in and create an account and track all of the points that are coming through. And a lot of people are just in and out shoppers, and they don't really have that much brand loyalty. So it kind of ties it back to as well, like, if people know that they've got like this guaranteed discount code coming back or credit that they can use again in store, why would they not come back a lot sooner? Which obviously they are doing based on the results that you guys are showing. So I think it's really interesting that it allows you to kind of, it is, even though it's a payment solution, it's still like giving you another channel in terms of like retention strategies around this like busy period where there's so much traffic coming to store now. Like, let's get them back and keep kind of getting them more invested in the brand, because the more someone buys from you, and if they're getting great experience from a product level, customer level, they're engaged in the content that you're producing as part of like your email newsletter, I think it's just kind of getting them more and more invested, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And just around like the lifetime value, so you guys report like 46% higher or boost in that customer lifetime value. What features of the platform do you think are contributing most to that? And why do you think it's increased so significantly?
Sure, yeah. So this is, we're seeing customers that pay by a payment method like FAM versus customers that don't tend to have a higher lifetime value. And, going back a little bit, when we first started FAM, and when we were developing the model, the most important thing for us was that we do want to incentivize customers to pay using this free payment method, which benefits the brand in saving money. But we want to be able to incentivize them only in ways that meet three important criteria, right? So the first one being that the rewards have to be transparent. We don't want the reward to be shrouded under the guise of points where the value is unclear. It's very clear exactly how much money this is and how much you can save on your next purchase. And then the second one being that it's extremely frictionless for the customer to redeem these rewards. So there's no discount code that the customer has to search their email for, that the brand might have emailed them after the purchase. There's no browser extensions to install. God forbid, there's no app to install either. It's just choose FAM as the payment method, and then it's a very simple toggle over there where the customer might want to redeem the reward or save it for a future purchase. And it's this convenience that's all happening right at the payment step in the payment flow, making it so seamless. That is what is truly, we believe, being the single best driver that is driving these results for brands. And it's the fact that it's all happening during the payment flow, which the customer is anyway doing, and they're earning rewards as a result of that.
And do you find that it works better for certain brands or certain niches or certain revenue amounts for brands? Like this is a solution, or can it work for everyone?
Sure, yeah. So, well, FAM works really well for brands in verticals like skincare, beauty, makeup, supplements, hair care. It also works very well for apparel brands. So we're talking fast fashion, we're talking athleisure, we're talking lingerie, underwear. It also does quite well within the health and food space as well. So any brand that is seeing some semblance of a repeat rate, but they would like to improve upon that, and that is very crucial given the high competition that we're all working with these days. It's a perfect solution for them.
Mm-hmm. And many like BFCM customers, like just to kind of tie it back to peak, are price sensitive as well. Like, do you think there's any other strategies or what other ones do you have to convert these shoppers into loyal full price customers, like post discount season?
Yeah, sure. So we do have the discounts that the customers have come to expect during BFCM, and I feel like a lot of it also comes down to the brand messaging, right? How are you positioning your brand with that? So if right from the outset, if you're positioning your brand as somebody who's going to be giving out 40, 50, 60, 70% discounts, then the customer is much harder to then convert to a full price paying customer, because they already have formed this image about your brand in their mind that, yes, if I was able to get a 90% discount on this, it's probably not worth that much. So I'm not saying that discounting is a bad strategy. What I'm saying is that coupling that with a better customer service, a better communication, and especially with things like, I keep going back to FAM credits, we make it very clear to the customer why are they receiving these rewards, and that is because the brand is not paying on payment fees, and that then maintains the value of that brand, maintains the brand image without destroying it. And I think that is probably the single best way of getting those customers to become full price paying customers instead of going the 90% discount route.
That was like working from home, like life then, wasn't it? So apologies for
Not a problem.
the doorbell ringing. How does FAM like allow you to create like a BFCM experience that does stand out as well against competitors? Because I think, as we know, there's so much competition and everyone's going after the same or the similar types of customers. Like, how do you think it gives them that standout against their competitors?
Yeah, so we given the time that we're at right now, there's three ways to look at this, right? There's the time leading up to BFCM, there's what happens during BFCM, and then what happens after. So, for example, brands that go live with FAM today can have the customers that came in today earn these store credits that can then be configured to expire around BFCM, so that you're then acquiring those customers without having to pay ad platform CACs, which is something that your competitors are going to be doing anyway, and that's something that you won't have to do. Moreover, customers that come in during BFCM, you're now unlocking a potential 2 to 6% on your margins by simply not paying payment fees for all of those customers that you've paid so much to acquire. So that's a lot of savings that you have that your competitors won't have during BFCM. And of course, all of these customers are earning credits that then come back a lot more predictably in the future after BFCM. And that is where the whole loyalty and the retention angle for this also comes in. And plus, we also have other features like credit drops, for example, where a brand can choose to segment a certain, a part of our own FAM user base to then offer a credit drop to those customers, where the customer can then use the credit on a new purchase versus, and acquire that new customer at a much more affordable cost compared to typical ad platform CACs.
Got it. And is there any other ways that you can think of that kind of helps with like the savings and the loyalty programs that FAM works on? So with the 0 fee like payment option, cost saving, like how could they be redirected into customer loyalty programs, do you think, to kind of build out that retention a little bit more?
Yeah, so that's exactly what FAM is doing here is that not only are we seeing brands that are simply converting those savings from the payment fees into these store credit rewards, but we're also seeing brands invest some more from their own marketing budgets as well, because this is a store credit and it's not a cashback or a discount. Brands are a lot more confident in setting aside as high as 10% for the reward, because they know that the customer has to come back and shop with them again to redeem it. So it's not just the savings from that, but it's also then it's essentially supercharging your existing retention budgets by unlocking these savings.
Great, thank you. And is there anything new or upcoming happening for FAM? Is there anything that we should be kind of looking out for?
Sure, yeah. So we're actually running we're actually offering something pretty cool to brands that sign up with us leading up to BFCM as well. And any brand that signs up with us before BFCM gets a free co-branded UGC campaign that we'll be doing with them. And that is completely free of charge. We will then be sharing them across our socials, including them in our newsletter, which is primarily targeted at Gen Z and young millennials, to then send new customers as well for something that they don't pay any fees on those new customer acquisition to. We'll also be featuring them in our mobile app, and that is completely free of charge.
Nice. So people really need to get moving, don't they? The time is ticking to BFCM. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of like your insights and telling us like a little bit more about FAM as well. I think it's a really exciting tool, and I think if people haven't had a look at it yet, they should definitely go and check it out and see how it can give such a great impact on their current setup. We've got a couple of questions that have come through from people that are watching. So one of them is, can you share like a real life example or a case study on how FAM has helped one of your fashion brands enhance their customer return rate?
Sure, yeah. So I can follow up with the names of, if you can just send me an email at urvesh@joinfam.com, I can follow up with examples of brands that we've done this successfully for. It has worked. So we have a few brands in the apparel space that are, specifically in the underwear niche that this has done quite well for. And we're also seeing beachwear, swimwear that this is performing well for as well.
Great. And what strategies can small fashion brands employ to effectively communicate the benefits of enhanced customer retention to their existing customers, especially in a competitive market?
Communicating the benefits of FAM to their existing customers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot of ways where we can work with you on that. So we're very heavily involved with our merchants that go live with us. This is by no means a self-service platform. So we work closely with our brands to make sure that we are co-branding a lot of the messaging that's going out to customers. We help them craft the right kind of messaging for their own website as well. And of course, we also have our on-site messaging widgets that can be placed on the site, which then informs the customer about how this works. And we also, again, going back to the point of really emphasizing why is the customer receiving these rewards, and that is because they're helping the brand save on payment fees and creating this win-win.
Mm-hmm. And the last one that we've got is what channels do you find most effective for reaching and marketing to older generations? So kind of outside of that, like millennial or above, particularly when promoting like special offers for them.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, look, Facebook does quite well for that, and I'm sure you're the expert on that too. Facebook ads have been performing, at least in my performance marketing agency. That is something that we saw perform quite well too. And email is a much stronger channel for the older audiences compared to the Gen Z and the young millennials. That is something that we've seen as well. Yeah, so Facebook, email, and really crafting the messaging to make sure that it's the right message that's going to the right customer. So really drilling down on those Klaviyo segments, I think is a great way to do that.
Yeah, and making sure that your content as well is relevant to each of the different platforms that you use, and I think that's quite a big one, isn't it? Because you can't just repurpose the same piece of content across every single channel now. Like everything's got to be unique and really speak to the demographic that's kind of using that platform as well.
Exactly.
But yeah, thank you so much. Like it's been super insightful. And if people do want to ask any questions or get in touch with you, do you want to just say your email again or where they can find you?
Sure, yeah. You can find us on joinfam.com, and you can email me at urvesh@joinfam.com. And yeah, I'll get back to you as fast as humanly possible.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you on stage tomorrow as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah, excited.